It's 757 Saturday Sports Talk on the road as we are broadcasting from the Siegel Center in Richmond on the campus of VCU with the NFHS Network. It is State Basketball Championship Week with the Coach Ed Young. I am Matt Hatfield. As always, 757 Saturday Sports Talk brought to you by Larry King Law. Injured in an accident, you call 757-INJURED for Larry King. Ed Young, Matt Hatfield here with you. Ed, it's your favorite time of the year, basketball. If you're not coaching in the championship and you're still waving that 500-win towel, you like to be broadcasting and watching the hoops action from VCU, and we've had some compelling action this week so far.
Absolutely, Matt. High school basketball state championships, what you play for. Yes, I wish I was on the other sideline where the coaches are sitting. And then also you got college basketball coming up, and, of course, the NBA is winding down.
I want to get your take in just a little bit, well, probably a little bit later on the show, about a couple of the coaching situations. Jim Boeheim's retirement announcement this week for Syracuse, which fell right away in the ACC tournament, and some other things happening, maybe a sleeper pick or two before Selection Sunday, and everybody's filling out their brackets. I know you have some advice for that. But so far, you're bragging about your picks, which are 8-0, a lot better than your NFL selections were on these high school state championship games. We've got mine up on the VIP board on VirginiaPreps.com. But let's take them in chronological order, and we'll have a couple of special guests later on in the program, including Stefan Welsh of Woodside going for a state championship today against Patrick Henry of Roanoke in the Class 5 boys title game. Also, we'll hear from a victorious state championship coach in the Peninsula District coming up in just a little bit here on the program, and a college basketball assistant coach who's going dancing to put on the tournament slippers, the shoes, if you will, next week for the NCAA tourney as his squad won in a interesting way, but they didn't win the conference tournament to go dancing. But let's go with the games that took place on Thursday, starting with the Class 1 girls title game. It was Rappahannock County 70, Eastside 65. You took them. I had Eastside in this game. Aslan Hammonds was the story. 37 points in defeat, 15-31. She was hitting shots from all over the floor, and Eastside never led in this game, but they were down by as many as 14 and almost mounted the great comeback to beat Rappahannock County. And it ended up being balanced scoring for Rappahannock County with 5 different players in double figures. That proved to be the difference along with their board work.
Yeah, again, not knowing a whole lot about these teams when I first got in there, the idea of who I was going to take on there. I like to watch the warm-up situation. I just looked at Rappahannock County shooting the basketball really well in there, and I just thought these girls are going to be the team to go with just based on shooting.
No, don't lie. You looked at me and said, I want to change my pick because Eastside's going to beat them and come out and beat them like a drum. And then it ended up being Rappahannock County, though, with some pretty stellar shooting. The shooting in this game was a lot better than we expected. 71% from the floor for Rappahannock County in the fourth quarter. Eastside shot 50% in the first, over 61% in the third. This was a higher scoring girls game than we anticipated.
It was probably some of the best shooting I've seen. Regional playoff, opening round of state playoffs, including boys.
Well, not a whole lot of local flavor, but Hammonds was terrific in defeat. Rappahannock County was led by Summer Shackelford's double-double of 17 points, 10 rebounds. Chloe Jenkins also had 13 points, 11 rebounds. And if I'm not mistaken, Ed, I believe just one senior for each squad. So if you keep track of girls basketball, whether you're in Southwest Virginia following Eastside or in that little small county that is Rappahannock County, these two teams have a great chance to be back in 2024.
Yeah, and I think it was kind of the theme as we gone through the state playoffs. A majority of these teams have a lot of youngsters. When I say youngsters, 9th, 10th grade for sure, and, of course, juniors because they're underclassmen, and that minuses a whole lot of seniors. So, yeah, I think these two teams, again, you would think they're coming back, have a great chance to come back because they have experience, and a lot of the young ladies coming back that were involved in that. But then, again, you got to win it on the court.
Let's move to our Thursday Class 1 boys game, which featured the Lancaster Red Devils coming in undefeated at 28-0. George Wythe Maroons at 26-3. Again, a lot of underclassmen for both of these teams. And Lancaster was able to punch its ticket to 29-0 overall on the season, beating the Maroons 62-40 to capture their third state championship. Tim Rice, their former coach, won the first 2 state titles. This is second-year head coach Dwayne Penn getting his first as the head man at a school he once ventured the halls at. And 30 points for Troy Henderson, who was just absolutely dazzling in that third quarter. He bunched 11 of his 13 points in that third quarter, and every time Wythe tried to make a run, they didn't shoot it all that great from deep, 4 of 13 from behind the arc, and they've been known to hit threes, including 16 in the state quarterfinals versus Twin Springs. It felt like Lancaster's answer was Troy Henderson, and he was the main scoring threat for them throughout the ballgame. Brother Tyson Henderson, who also scored 1,000 points in his career, had 14 points to go with 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals. But too much Henderson brothers and Lancaster going wire to wire unbeaten after handily beating both Franklin and Alta Vista earlier in the state playoffs. Very, very impressive.
Yeah, when you look at teams that are undefeated and are in a state championship game, you start to wonder, well, is this where they lose, which would be the worst time of the year to lose because it's in a state title game. If you're going to lose, you want to lose a little bit earlier, get the pressure off being undefeated, get your players' attention back, and then you can get more things done. But Lancaster, other than an 11-11 first quarter score, and if I'm not mistaken, George Wythe had a early lead up to early in the first quarter, it was all Lancaster. And again, one of the big stats was points off turnovers, because we know this is how they run. It was the Devils 30-10 points off turnovers. So again, Lancaster just got that running game in full gear. And as you just mentioned, led by the Henderson boys.
And their defense really fueled the offense. Their free throw shooting was not bad. They kept it pretty even on the boards. Too many turnovers for George Wythe, who figures to be back in this spot in the future. But Lancaster, to close this out, undefeated wire to wire. It's mighty, mighty impressive. And this game, the final score might not be indicative of how close it was at times. Wythe never made that run to make it a 1 or 2 possession game, but they sort of kept it between 8 and 12 much of the second half, and then Lancaster just put them away late. So I know that Northern Neck area is just celebratory. They're ready for a parade there, and I think closed it down the town for a few days as they celebrate this boys basketball team going wire to wire unbeaten, and a special time for them. And Class 1 basketball, people look at the division and say, oh, can they compete with those? You know this from having been a Class 1 coach many years back at Suffolk High. They can play with a lot of teams in higher divisions, and their pace of play wears people out.
Right. Lancaster definitely can compete with a lot of people. Now, the problem with the single A schools is overall depth usually. Of course, you only need 12, 13 players on a varsity team, but their depth will drop down when they come off the bench. Now, they did play some kids in this ball game, but not a whole lot. They got some kids that got a little bit of floor time at the end, just so you could say they played in the state championship game. But and you referenced me at Suffolk High School years and years ago. Our record against AA and AAA, and that's back when it was single A, AA, AAA, was something like 70% winning percentage against AA and AAA teams, and we were a very small single A team. So I understand how that can look, and Lancaster definitely would hold their own against a lot of the big boys in the area.
Great job by Dwayne Penn and his Red Devils getting that redemption after last year losing in the state semis to then Washington in the lead, now Westmoreland High School. They get through unscathed and win the championship. We're going through our Thursday VHSL 2023 State Basketball Tournament review here, and a lot of the games we called on the NFHS Network here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on Priority Auto Sports Radio 94.1. Lancaster winning the Class 1 boys title and the Class 1 girls title going to Rappahannock County as we move to Class 4's games. And you'll hear from Hampton Lady Crabbers coach Sean DeBilly coming up here on our program in just a bit. They were victorious 75-63 over Pulaski County. It was a 20-point lead, Ed. You got to call this game with Mark Fout, I believe it was. Hampton's advantage shrunk down to about 5, and people were going, uh-oh, is Hampton going to hold on here? Well, Kennedy Harris made sure they held on. 35 points, 11 of 21, 5 of 9 from deep. Some unbelievable shots she hit, a perfect 8 of 8 from the foul line, and then 3 assists and 2 key ones in the fourth quarter to Kalia K.D. Perry, who had 10 points, 7 rebounds, 12 boards off the bench for Jaden Hunter. Hampton was able to pull away late from Pulaski County, which gave a valiant comeback effort, but not enough as the Lady Crabbers follow up that win over Kings Fork, an emotionally charged one coming from behind in the state semis, to get it done and win their 4th state title as a program, 2nd under Shonda Billy as the head coach.
Yeah, I don't want to steal Shonda's thunder because we have her coming up. She's going to speak a lot about her ladies and winning this game, but a lot of energy by Hampton. They've been destined to get here. That was their focus the whole time after having to share the title a few years ago, losing out on the opportunity to even go try for a title last year. So I think you're looking at a team that was really, really zeroed in. And Kennedy Harris, the young lady going to George Mason, 35 points. She had trouble getting started. It kind of looked like a boxing one, a shadow defense on her early. But once she got loose and once she got that ball and started hitting shots, she shot 11 for 21, a little bit over 50% from the floor. And she just got her teammates so much more inclined to do things right because she was doing things right, kind of put them on her shoulders. She's been doing all year and carrying them all through. But let me just say this about Kenny Harris is a very good Division I player, but the Hampton young ladies do a tremendous job of playing their role, knowing Kennedy's going to get a lot of the print, a lot of the points, but they do their other things, and that's why they're state champion.
And we're going to effort getting Kennedy on the show here in a couple weeks here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Certainly the headliner for Pulaski was Kesslyn Sechrist, Indiana State commit, 22 points, 12 rebounds. Some of her stats may be misleading because Hampton didn't make her have to work for him. Hannah Kiefer had 23. They kept Paige Huff in check from deep, but all in all, it was another workmanlike win for Hampton, which got it done after beating Kings Fork coming from behind, and they remain one of the best girls programs in the area and state here. As we move along here, another girls program will be in action today in Princess Anne coming up in an hour. The Class 4 boys game, though it did involve two teams from the 757, it was a whale of a game. Varina 59, EC Glass 56. I know it makes our man Sonny Dirth from the Pilot and Daily Press happy because his alma mater, Varina, repeats as state champs in Class 4. We watched them beat Kings Fork on Monday night, Ed, and this was a game where Varina was on the verge of pulling away, up 12 in the third quarter. Thought DJ Best of EC Glass made a nice move to put in Dexter Harris off the bench to sort of change up their defense. And then Almondre Harris just got cooking, 31 points in defeat, 11 of 21, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals. He was cramping up, but my oh my, can he play? And he tried to will his team back.
Yeah, the young fellow, Almondre Harris. I mean, this kid, when the game was over, was totally spent. And I mean, emotionally spent. They had a hard time getting him off the floor, and they had to scrape him off the floor. He gave 100% of all he had. And 31 points, 11 for 21 from the floor, 2 of 4 from the three-point line, 7-9. The kid shot tremendously. And just watching him play, just an inspiration to his team. And they just didn't give him enough firepower because the game started out, it was kind of sloppy first quarter. Varina 10-6. It was a sloppy first quarter, but where they really got destroyed was Varina on the boards, out-rebounding them 40-25, including 17 offensive boards for Varina, which means EC Glass got 20 on the defensive end, but just too many second chance opportunities, which Varina turned into a 16 points out of that. And then that was probably where the big difference was for them.
And the neat thing for Varina, as they won this championship going back-to-back, 4 new starters. They lose Alfonso Fats Phillips to VCU. New guys step up every night for them. We know KJ Weiss is probably going to get State Player of the Year. He made a big shot to win it for them and put them ahead after Almondre getting the lead with under a minute to go for EC Glass. On Monday night against Kings Fork, they were down 8 or 9 in the fourth quarter. Jerome Conway got hot, lit up the Bulldogs, scoring 16 points, 13 in the second half, 11 straight in the fourth quarter alone, and they got rebounding from Malachi Cosby. Miles Derricott came through with a huge offensive rebound. This team just found different ways to manufacture points and win, and their defense was rock solid, which a lot of these teams have to move on in the state playoffs and have a chance to hoist the trophy. Coming up next on 757 Saturday Sports Talk, Hampton Lady Crabbers coach Shonda Bailey. It's coming your way here on Priority Auto Sports Radio 94.1.